wearing me out. Well, maybe tomorrow the world will wake and get it right, but I have my doubts. During the day, well, I design machines of war that scream through the sky. 'Cause I, for one, I like to go to bed free at night under these stars and stripes. And I have my doubts that we're coming out. Yes, I have my doubts. And I have my doubts that we'll make it back out. Yes, I have my doubts. But they'll wind you up and pull the cord until you're spun right out. And I don't understand. Roll the dice and raise the price to feed the machine's mouth. Call it the progress of man. And I have my doubt that we're coming out. Yes, I have my doubt. And I have my doubt that we'll make it back out. I have my doubts. So I'll drink my stuff and raise some hell and shoot my guns to the end of my time. You can have the booze and go to hell and take the guns, but I know they won't be mine. That we're coming out. Yes, I have my doubts. And I have my doubts that we'll make it back out. Yes, I have my doubts. So we're all messed up and out of touch. Let's text someone who's in the other room. So no wonder why we don't say hi or know anyone. I might as well move to the moon. So maybe I'm wrong. Well, I hope that I'm wrong. So maybe I'm wrong. Well, I hope that I'm wrong. The things I think, well, I lie awake and contemplate at night. Wearing me out.
Proverbs 29. He that being often reproved hardeneth his neck shall suddenly be destroyed, and that without remedy. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. Whoso loveth wisdom rejoiceth his father, but he that keepeth company with harlots spendeth his substance. The king by judgment establisheth the land, but he that receiveth gifts overthroweth it. A man that flattereth his neighbor spreadeth a net for his feet. In the transgression of an evil man there is a snare, but the righteous doth sing and rejoice. The righteous considereth the cause of the poor, but the wicked regardeth not to know it. Scornful men bring a city into a snare, but wise men turn away wrath. If a wise man contendeth with a foolish man, whether he rage or laugh, there is no rest. The bloodthirsty hate the upright, but the just seek his soul. A fool uttereth all his mind, but a wise man keepeth it in till afterwards. If a ruler hearken to lies, all his servants are wicked. The poor and deceitful man meet together. The Lord lighteneth both their eyes. The king that faithfully judgeth the poor, his throne shall be established for ever. The rod and reproof give wisdom, but a child left to himself bringeth his mother to shame. When the wicked are multiplied, transgression increaseth, but the righteous shall see their fall. Correct thy son, and he shall give thee rest, yea, he shall give delight unto thy soul. Where there is no vision, the people perish, but he that keepeth the law, happy is he. The servant will not be corrected by words, for though he understand, he will not answer. Seest thou a man that is hasty in his words? There is more hope of a fool than of him. He that delicately bringeth up his servant from a child shall have him become his son at the length. An angry man stirreth up strife, and a furious man aboundeth in transgression. A man's pride shall bring him low, but honor shall uphold the humble in spirit. Whoso is partner with a thief hateth his own soul. He heareth cursing, and betrayeth it not. The fear of man bringeth a snare, but whoso putteth his trust in the Lord shall be safe. Many seek the ruler's favor, but every man's judgment cometh from the Lord. An unjust man is an abomination to the just, and he that is upright in the way is abomination to the wicked.
Good evening. It's Tuesday, October 28th, 2014.
Proverbs 30.
Oops. I hope you like the new intro video. It'll take me a moment to gain my composure. It's a little rough for me. I haven't seen my children in over 10 months, and I felt it was important to include them in that video. And I hope that people get the correct meaning from that and that it hits them. That is what we're all doing this for. We're doing this for the children. Every last one of them, not just mine, not just yours, everybody's on the earth. That is what this is for. To hell with anything else. To hell with the sports. To hell with the TV shows. The video games. We got to set this right. We have to do it for those kids. Anyway, let's go ahead and get on to suspicious observers, and I will go from there.
Good morning, folks. Here are the photos from Hawaii thus far. The lava is really creeping in there. Can't help but feel like this guy's way too close. Anywho, the town is about one surge or wrong turn away from an evacuation. It's pretty much a slow-moving nightmare. Okay, let's get to it. The biggest sunspot of not just this solar cycle, but the biggest in nearly 25 years, kept firing away in the last 24 hours. And continues into the morning. We've had 3 M flares and an X-class blast from the region, but still no ejecta, no CME, and no real danger. The plasma movement within the group and the surrounding regions was in last night's evening news. Try to note the direct currents of ionized iron within the umbral magnetic fields. Their movement illuminates where this flare energy comes from. Highly complex even still. At this time, we are just about ready to say goodbye to the region. We'll maybe get some parting shots before he goes. Other top solar news includes above average solar wind speed and some magnetic perturbations that have Earth's magnetosphere in a bit of instability at the moment. On the filament locator at ISWA, we note the many small ropes down south and the big one up north. The big one is easiest to see when viewing the entire Earth-facing disk, a significant solar figure, but one that has held tight thus far. Smaller ones down below are visible as well. The ones incoming at the eastern limb appear to be comprised of 3 or 4 solar tornadoes reaching up from the surface and connecting in the corona just above the interface region. In terms of coronal holes, the one down south is easily visible, but you can also see one up north coming in simultaneously. The umbral coronal fields reveal an unimpeded southern opening, but some blockage of the northern positive hole. This is why ISWA shows the southern opening to be tremendously powerful, but the northern opening not so much. It's hampered by the coronal magnetic fields. With 2 coronal holes on the Earth-facing fourth of the star, we got a slight seismic uptick. Top rumble being in the western Pacific. They've settled on Tonga as the epicenter in just over 6 magnitude range. Top link for today is from Chandra. The X-ray experts have compared Virgo to Perseus in pretty good detail, especially in terms of star formation. EU proponents grit your teeth to get through their choices in diction. So here's our Indian Ocean cyclone. Precipitable water overlay reveals the flood risk for when it will swing west and make landfall. Won't be for a few days yet. We've got 2 notes at Central America. 2 lows. One made landfall and is considered storm remnants, but still a flood advisory, and we wait for model confirmation about where the new storm is heading. Just to the north, we see a low in south-central Canada, bringing hot, wet air up the eastern side of the convergence and cooler air around the western side, collision in the middle. We've also got the moisture flow off the Pacific low remaining. The convergence will produce severe weather this evening. Please check your local forecasts here. And the western rains will continue with some snow in the mix as well, where the cooler air catches that flow in and around the Rockies. Europe, major convergence to be seen there. Pretty solid off the northern low. Also, the temperature suggests some energy in the Mediterranean due south of that as well. Floods and high wind watch at the convergence. Lightning alerts to the south. You've got that same moisture flow as yesterday here, accompanied by 2 well-seen convergences, one there and another forming over New Zealand. It will rain over wide portions of those areas, but the storms will stick to the convergences. Got some shots of our star to close at 6:05 a.m. Eastern Time, 5:05 a.m. Central. That's the news. Eyes open. No fear. Be safe, everyone.
Another big thanks to Ben Davison with Suspicious Observers for his daily report. As always, the link is down in the About tab. And if you will notice, if you scroll even further down in the About tab, you will see a section that I have alternative news. I added a couple more links in there today, and I wanted to point that out. One of those links is Heidi, and hopefully I can get right to it. Yes, I can. I just cleared my browser history and all that earlier because I had some issues. So anyway, we are waiting for it to load. Again, I cleared my browser history, so it's going to take a while for everything to load up. So anyway, here's Heidi, Blind to the Truth. Her link's down in the About tab. I wanted to point that out. And she's got a very nice site here, and from what I understand, she has a blogger now, which is sweet. The other link I wanted to show you was FlashNewsNetwork.com. It's also down in there in the About tab, and another great source for news and information. And as always, the sponsor website is also down there, to where I have all of these listed except for Flash News Network, which I have to get on and get busy and get that done this evening. But they are all there. So one place. And then I wanted to point out one more time, on the right-hand side of the Survival Smokes page, you will see Buy Survival Gear. If you click that link, it will take you to an Amazon store. And you can get all the preparedness survival items that you need from there. It will also help our cause. It will help us further research and bring this information to you. So I wanted to point that out. So let's get on with, there's some books that Jason was Saving the Truth had put together. There's 10 books that might save your life. Humans are free. And the link is down in the About tab for this, if you would like to check it out. And he has several really, really good books here. I actually think I possibly might have a couple of these. So anyway, yeah, check it out. Knowledge is everything, absolutely everything. So there's a good start. And check out those links, check out those books, and definitely check out the store and see if there's something there that you may need. I know he's got a huge, huge list of items that you can get from the store. So let's go ahead and get on with the news. This I seen just before the show. I seen it pop up. NASA rocket explodes shortly after launch. Wow, I thought there was a video that popped up top. Maybe not. Okay. NASA's Antares rocket headed to the International Space Station exploded shortly after launch Tuesday night. The rocket was unmanned, and NASA officials said no personnel appeared to be in danger. However, there was significant property damage. The explosion lit up the sky at the launch pad in Virginia and occurred about 6 seconds after liftoff. The Orbital Sciences Corporation's Antares rocket and Cygnus cargo spacecraft were set to launch at 6:22 p.m. Eastern Time. It was set to carry some 5,000 pounds of supplies and experiments to the International Space Station. Hope those guys don't go hungry. There was a failure on launch, NASA spokesman Jay Bolden said. There was no indicated loss of life. Bolden added there was a significant property and vehicle damage. Mission Control is trying to assess what went wrong. I think it blew up. Video shows the rocket rising into the air for a few seconds before an explosion. It then plummets back to Earth, causing more flames as it hits the ground. NASA tweeted that the failure occurred 6 seconds after launch. Ed Encina was among those who watched it happen from about 3 miles away in the remote resort area. You immediately thought that everything was fine because you see the big launch, and it brightened up the sky, said Encina, a Baltimore Sun reporter, and then all of a sudden, you see a big fireball. Encina also recalled a loud boom that caused your feet to shake a little bit, as well as fumes enveloping a roughly 100-yard area around the launch pad in a marshy area with brush. The launch had been scheduled for Monday, but that was scrubbed because of a boat downrange in the trajectory of Antares would have flown had it lifted off, according to NASA. Just before Tuesday's liftoff, the space agency reported 100% favorable weather and no technical concerns with the rocket or spacecraft being worked. About 1/3 of the spacecraft's cargo consisted of material for scientific investigations, including a Houston school's experiment on pea growth. I don't think they're going to be growing. Sorry, kids. And a study on blood flow in space. There was about the same amount of cargo for supplies for the space station's crew, including more than 1,300 pounds of food. They are going to go hungry. They don't even have no peas to grow. They're really bumming. So anyway, I would watch this video if I could, but apparently it's not going to load for me. They might have removed it. Who knows? But yeah, that gives you the insight as much as we have right now on that rocket. Wow. I'm just glad nobody got hurt. That's the only reason I joke about it. Nobody got hurt. That's a good thing. It's a shame that they lost all that cargo and especially all that spam and baloney in a tube. So anyway, let's get on with some other news. On the Ebola front, this just came around today too. Wow, what is it with these sites? Oh no! Wow, this is wild. I'm having a hard. Wow, I wonder what is up with these sites. Look at this. Okay, well I'll read you what I got. 2 being monitored for Ebola symptoms in Mecklenburg County. Maybe they don't know how to set up a website there in Mecklenburg. Anyway, Mecklenburg County Manager Dina Dioro sent a letter to commissioners Monday about 2 people who are being monitored after returning from Ebola-stricken countries. As a follow-up to our Ebola preparedness update, I want to notify you we are providing monitoring for 2 individuals who have arrived in Mecklenburg County from one of these 3 counties experiencing widespread Ebola, the letter stated. What? One of these countries. Okay, I wanted to make sure of that. These individuals have had no known contact with anyone diagnosed with the Ebola virus. They are considered low risk and are currently being monitored by a communicable disease nurse. The monitoring includes the individuals they're not invisible, taking their temperature twice daily for 21 days and reporting to the nurse. Wow, that's hard to read, that big long thing. The letter goes on to explain that the protocol had been developed based on guidance from the Centers for Disease Control and the North Carolina Division of Public Health, and that any new arrivals will have to follow the same process. If there are any confirmed Ebola cases, you will be notified immediately, Diorio told commissioners. The U.S. has stepped up screening of travelers from West Africa, and now a handful of states are beginning to require returning doctors and nurses to quarantine themselves during the disease's incubation period, which can last up to 21 days. Ebola has killed nearly 5,000 people, mostly in Liberia, Guinea, and Sierra Leone. Power said that the international responses came a long way in recent weeks, but more still needs to be done. For a complete list of the county's processes and protocols dealing with Ebola, click here. But the link is down in the About tab, and it does have the little click here thingy. But anyway, even though the website seems to be a little bit discombobulated. Wow, that's strange. I wonder if that's something that is going to kind of disappear or something like that, because it had a full web page and the whole 9 yards, but oh well. Anyway, I wanted to point out a couple things there after I took a sip of coffee. So the 21 days, I don't know why they keep saying this over and over and over in this 21 days. I know it's 40-something. It's in the 40s is what they have determined it to be. So I don't understand why they're going up to this 21 days. Now, the other thing I want to point out is how they keep trying to quell the public and keep, like they mentioned, the handful of states that are beginning to require returning doctors and nurses to quarantine themselves during the disease's incubation period. However, if they were that concerned, and this wasn't even mentioned, there actually was a handful of states, including Illinois, New Jersey. There was 1 or 2 over there on the East Coast that were wanting to require a mandatory quarantine for these people returning, and the Obama administration is fighting it. Not only that, but a particular nurse that came back from that area is also fighting it as well. But it's very interesting. She seems, from what I read in some news earlier, to have some ties with the CDC, and so I would not be surprised if and it just seems like they're doing so much to try and get the public just to turn their head. And that's what worries me. That's what really worries me. Because for every other one that I can think of, whether it be SARS, H1N1, swine flu, whatever one it was, they were like in our faces. I mean, just constantly in our faces about it. And this one, the one that can kill up to 90% of the people, and in fact said, oh, don't worry about it, it's fine, come on in, and that's it. And we're just supposed to go with that. And at the same time, it seems like the mainstream media is really spreading a lot of disinformation and some very misleading things. And it's kind of unsettling, to have that going on with something that is truly serious. This is no joke. This is no game. This is reality. Okay, I have a video that was posted, was it yesterday or the day before, by Scott Anthony with the Flash News Network. I thought he did a very excellent job of pointing this stuff out. and I wanted to share that video with you. And then after that, we'll get off the Ebola topic and get to more fun like police beating on people. So, all right, here you go with Scott Anthony.
Seventh, 2014. First of all, big props to Professor Doom 1 for finding this interview. You know, I actually saw it and blew it over on first glance because it didn't really register at the time, but you just highlighted something incredibly important. So I uploaded a bigger context of the interview, and I want you to hear this one part right here where Duncan, who was treated in Texas Presbyterian, was positive for Ebola, highly infectious, infected 2 other nurses, and subsequently died. Now, the mainstream media says he died on October 8th. The nurse you're about to hear states he died after going to critical condition on Saturday, which would be October 4th. There's a reason for this, so hold on and just listen to this, and I will explain exactly why this discrepancy exists.
Despite all the volunteers, Duncan grew worse. An experimental drug wasn't helping.
Early Saturday morning, he had become very critically ill.
First, I want to make sure, did you hear the fact that he had an experimental drug? That's important.
And was placed on a respirator.
He was intubated.
He was intubated.
Tube down his throat.
Tube down his throat. He had a dialysis catheter placed because he was not making the urine that he needed to. He was heavily sedated, and he had tears rolling down his eyes, rolling down his face, and not just normal watering from a sedated person. This was in the form of tears. And I grabbed a tissue, and I wiped his eyes, and I said, "You're going to be okay. You just get the rest that you need. Let us do the rest for you." And it wasn't 15 minutes later, I couldn't find a pulse. And I lost him.
So right there, we have this RN, 20-year experienced RN, stating that Thomas Duncan expired on Saturday, October 4th. The mainstream media reported he died October 8th. That's a major discrepancy. Now, having worked in healthcare for 20 plus years myself, I could tell you right now that this RN, if he's legit, and I can take a guess he is, he would know the difference between Saturday, October 4th and Thursday, October 8th. I'm going to view his testimony as provided to 60 Minutes as legitimate and assume that Duncan passed away on October 4th. The big question, of course, becomes, why would the mainstream media report he died on October 8th? Good question. I'm glad you asked that. Now I'm going to show you why. Let's go to the CDC, who has been constantly updating, re-updating, taking down, and putting stuff back up. Well, this is their latest view of Ebola and the studies that they're doing. And one thing is very important to note, and it's going to be in a couple places. But the main thing to realize is that Ebola, if we're going to believe the CDC at all, which I don't have much faith in, but let's pretend for a minute that the CDC, NIAID, NIH are in fact trying to figure out this particular strain of Ebola, why certain people are getting infected and surviving, and why certain people are getting infected and dying. There's a big reason why there would be a 4-day delay in reporting Duncan's death. And that is because the viral load, which is how much virus is present in body fluids, is not at its peak within the first 3 days of showing symptoms. So if Duncan first started showing symptoms on the 28th, that means his blood or viral load would start to peak around the 30th or October 1st. That would make sense. Once that viral load starts elevating, that is when they become critically ill, which, if we're going to believe the storyline, that's what happened. Let's go to where they're looking at the data. Ebola virus RNA levels in the blood in patients who died are on average 2 log 10 higher than RNA copies of copy levels in patients who survived. So do you understand? The virus on a dead person is exponentially higher on somebody who has just died from Ebola versus somebody who is symptomatic with Ebola but still alive. So using the CDC's graphic, days post onset of symptoms, day 0 of this would be the onset of symptoms. So for Duncan, that would have been the 28th, 29th in that area. His viral load would not be that high. So let's take this as September 29, 30, October 1, 2, 3, 4. Look how high it starts getting by October 4th. He is at his highest viral load on Saturday, October 4th. That would make sense for his critical condition. That would make sense for the highest level of transmission. And that would be a very good reason why the CDC, NIH, NIAID, i.e. Dr. Fauci, the guy you saw with Nina Pham when she was released from the hospital, because she had the lowest exposure to Duncan because he just got into the hospital somewhere around here. So she was exposed to a very low viral load versus everybody else who was already in hazmat suits up here. So what does the CDC, NIH, and NIAID want? They want the blood, and they want to see the viral loads here to formulate whatever treatments, vaccines, etc. they can do based on the extremely high viral load at the time of death. So that would make sense if we're going to believe the CDC. Now, the CDC further confirms this, saying although Ebola virus RNA levels at the time of fever and symptom onset are typically low, near the detection threshold limits, meaning it's just detectable when the symptoms occur, and in some patients may not be reliably detectable during the first 3 days. So during the first 3 days, they might not even have Ebola virus results on a test. The Ebola virus RNA levels in the blood have been shown to increase logarithmically during the acute phase of illness, and the bodies of deceased Ebola-infected persons are highly infectious. This confirms why there may be a discrepancy in the date of death of Mr. Duncan, because researchers, being the scientists that they are, they want that viral load and they want that blood sample. They want all the body fluids they can get, and they want to run as many tests as they can while they still have a fresh victim, as sick as that sounds. But these are scientists. They're not concerned about funeral arrangements. They're not concerned about family members. They're not concerned about anything else other than their experiments. And if you look at Dr. Fauci, go back at some of my videos, look how excited Dr. Fauci gets about this Ebola strain in particular. He's very excited about how it gets transmitted, about how it jumps from place to place to place. I think I've shown overwhelming evidence how excited he gets about this. Well, here we have a guy from Liberia, extremely symptomatic, goes in a critical condition, dies, and then there's a 4-day discrepancy now on the date of his death. This gives you a reason why that 4-day discrepancy exists. Because of the viral load. The viral load was highest when he died, not when he was first admitted in the hospital. So I hope this makes sense to everybody, and understand that if in fact anybody does get infected with Ebola, they're looking for the critical patients. And they are looking for the maximum recorded persistence of Ebola in the blood and other body fluids of convalescent Ebola virus patients by fluid type. So they're looking, and they're actually stating that Ebola has been detected for up to 101 days after symptom onset in semen, 33 days from vaginal swabs, 29 days from rectal, 23 days from urine, 22 days from conjunctival, which is under your eyes or your eyelids, 21 days in bloods, 15 days in breast milk, 8 days in saliva, and 6 days on skin. So, knowing this, they're testing everything to see how a patient's infected, how they can infect others. They still are not saying it's airborne based on this report, but I think it's safe to say that they use those 4 days to do some experiments and figure out what's going on and why Mr. Duncan became so highly infectious and just how infectious his viral load actually was. Hope this makes sense. It's a theory, but I think it's close to fact.
So to summarize what Scott was saying is that vampires are real, they're employed by the government, and they want your blood. Just wait till we tell you about the zombies. No, I'm kidding. Scott did a very good job on that, a very good job. The link to that video is in the About tab, as well as I mentioned earlier, the link to Flash News Network is down there as well. So very, very good job, Scott. I want to thank Dave. He just shared a video in the Google Hangout of that rocket exploding. Breaking news. So what I want to do is it's actually from Dabu7, I guess. So I'll bring you to that so you can see that rocket explode. Yay! Telling you, the biggest bottle rocket you'll see. Anyway, let me show you this real quick, and then we'll finish up with the rest of the news. Yay! Cops beating on people. Here you go.
This is Dabu7 wanting to share with you some crazy footage of this unmanned commercial supply ship that was bound for the ISS that exploded moments after liftoff on Tuesday evening.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we have liftoff of Antares, the new orbit-free mission that brings Cygnus on its third CRS mission to the ISS. Got main engines at 108%.
Avionics power nominal.
Must have been a Chevy.
Absolutely massive explosion.
And launch team, be advised, stay at your consoles. Everyone in the LCC, maintain your positions in your consoles. In the LCC, maintain positions at your console.
Wow, that is truly remarkable video. I guess it's probably inappropriate to go, ooh, but anyway, yeah, I'm just glad it was an unmanned spacecraft. I wouldn't be joking about it so much if people were hurt or people lost their lives or anything like that. But, you know, got to build a better rocket. I don't know. There seems to be a lot of rockets having issues, mainly with Russia, though. I wonder. Anyway, let's get on to the police beating, shooting, fun kind of stuff. This I had it posted the other day. I didn't get to it, and I did think it was kind of important to talk about because I really think this is a powder keg. Missouri police preparing for a grand jury decision. Missouri police have been buying new gear and getting trained on constitutional rights. Oh, yeah. As they prepare for a grand jury decision on whether to charge a white policeman in the shooting death of a black 18-year-old. The grand jury announcement could come within the next month, though no specific date is set. Law enforcement officials are hoping to avoid violent clashes between protesters and police similar to those that occurred after Ferguson officer Darren Wilson shot Michael Brown on August 9th. Police have adjusted tactics for interacting more peacefully with protesters while also honing procedures for quick, widespread arrests. They are planning to have a large contingent of officers ready, but also have been meeting with clergy, community leaders, and students in hopes of building relationships that could ease tensions. Yeah, okay, so is that why DHS is moving in these jammers and all that? Look, you have to be real careful of mainstream media. You have to be careful of, they all have an agenda. They all work together. If you can't read between the lines, it's obvious they have already came to a decision. Now what they are doing is building up and preparing for when they announce that decision. Now, the only way you could get honest, accurate information was to watch the actual live streams by just citizens like us with their phones. That was the only way to get the truth of what went on. When all those protesters were being nailed with rubber bullets and tear gas and beanbags, you know, they weren't doing anything. The video proves that they weren't even throwing bottles like they were accused of. They weren't doing a single thing. So I just don't understand, you know, why anybody is putting up with this anymore. But I can tell you that we've made the same mistake that we've made over and over and over in history, and that's that we make it about a special interest. And that special interest is not humanity. That special interest is not constitutional rights. If we could focus on that, we'd be able to move forward with everything. Whether your battle is, you know, the LBGT, whether your battle is racism, whether it's you know, religion, whatever it may be, that battle will be eased by fighting for humanity. Because when you fight for humanity, you fight for every one of us and every one of our beliefs. But when you segregate yourself into a certain group, okay, then all they do is get another group to attack your group, and all there is infighting. And that's all that happens, and we move nowhere. In fact, we get pushed back even further. That's why there's nothing that's been done on the racism front. You know, it's been, you know, I mean, of course, it's been a lot longer than that, but I'm thinking 1950s, 1960s, okay? There was a big push then, and we've gotten nowhere. We have the same discussions. I've heard people talk about the exact same discussions today as there was then, and that's the reason why. It's because we're not fighting for humanity. We all want to fight for this special interest, and then, you know, somebody gets mad at somebody else, and then they got to have their own little group, right? And so now we've got 1 million special interest groups actually getting nowhere. That's a fact. That's a fact. Divided we fall. And that's, you know, that's the way they like to keep us. So, I mean, we make gradual steps in what we think is the right direction. The problem is all the time that we think we're making those steps in the right direction, we're getting pushed back because we're losing other rights. You know, it's a shame. I keep trying to tell people, if they will combine our First Amendment rights with our Second Amendment rights and our Fourth and our Fifth and all the rest of them, but that second is important. You didn't see those folks getting pushed around at Bundy Ranch. Why? It wasn't none of this bull that you see on liberal news pages, and it wasn't that. It was the fact the government is afraid when the people in mass support the Second Amendment along with anything else. That's when the government is afraid. That's when the government steps down. It's the only way to put them in their place. The only way. It's not violence. It's not violence. What the government is doing to us is violence. We need to get that straight. We also need to get straight what terrorism really is, because the biggest terrorist on this planet is the United States government. It's a fact. It's just a fact. I love my country, but our government is out of control. Here's another example of that. Sorry. Here's another example of that. Police use helicopters, canines, and military force to find teen who stole a pack of cigarettes. Wow. I mean, I know cigarettes are getting pretty expensive these days, but my goodness. In Florida, a state where the entire police department was recently let go for coming out against corrupt cops, police recently utilized nearly every single tool at their disposal to find a mere cigarette thief. The police in Manatee, I bet that's Manatee County, Florida, recently sent out helicopters, canine units, and squad cars full of officers to catch 18-year-old Shaquille Almeida, something like that, for stealing a pack of cigarettes out of the hands of an unnamed 43-year-old man. It obviously is not right for a kid to snatch a pack of cigarettes from someone, but to send out that much force to catch an 18-year-old for doing that is completely absurd and goes to show how much force simply cannot be trusted in the police force that obeys laws originating from a centralized power, the U.S. government. The kid was caught in a mall parking lot after cops completely surrounded the area he was in, making a perimeter. He was arrested without further incident, and it is not clear what he is charged with exactly. If a police department were to receive tens of thousands of dollars in military gear from Pentagon Program 1033, and they could use it as this department did, we would all be in trouble. And let me tell you, folks, we are all going to be in trouble. We're already in trouble. They just haven't came down on us yet. I don't know how it's going to go down, why it's going to go down, or necessarily the exact moment it's going to go down, but they've been staging, they've been planning, and let me tell you something, they are ready. They're ready right now. We sat around on our hands for way, way too long. I seen them doing it during the Occupy Wall Street movement. I seen them doing it way before that even happened. But during Occupy Wall Street, when that movement came out, there was a huge rush to get this equipment and to get this training and all this gear and all these MRAPs and all this stuff. I mean, there was a huge mad dash to get this out. And then they did everything they could to quell that movement because they still weren't quite ready. And that movement had some power to it. And if the media wouldn't have misguided the public on what that movement was truly about, they would have been in trouble back in 2011. Big, big trouble. But see, the media made it seem something totally different than what it was. It was the same basis. They had the same ideas what the original Tea Party did. You know, which is another group that got shoved under the rug by the media. Again, they played the two different groups against one another. Because the original Tea Party movement wasn't really a white right-wing movement. They really didn't want a political stance, right or left, or they wanted to be who they were and what they represented. And the Occupy Wall Street movement was the exact same way. I was there from day one. I seen it. I wasn't there for the Tea Party movement, but I was for Occupy Wall Street movement, and I watched it get co-opted. I watched it get misdirected, and I seen what the media did. If they were such a left-wing movement, then how come they absolutely refused from the get-go to let Obama have anything to do with the group? That's a fact. That's a fact. Obama mentioned them at a speech that he had, and the movement publicly denounced Obama and more or less, you know, you're one of the reasons why we're here, you know. And it was very interesting. Very, very interesting. But here's another idea of what's going on with our wonderful government and their powers. Utah State Police shut down dance party because people were dancing without a dance permit. Wow. Okay. It gets ridiculous. It really, really gets ridiculous. We were told by officers we couldn't have a dance under threat of being taken to jail with a felony of inciting a riot. Just because they wanted to get their groove on. Really. A dance party in St. George, Utah was shut down over the weekend because the city will not allow people to dance without permits. However, Heart of Dixie, the company who organized the event, was actually under the impression that they had all of the permits that they needed. The group was held their annual Halloween event, the Monster Mash, for the past 3 years in other areas of Utah. This year, they moved their event to St. George, but unfortunately, the permit process is far more rigorous there than in other places where they had done business in the past. Many are familiar with being required to get permits for alcohol and amplified music, and although many disagree with the process, they still do what they must to stay out of trouble. It's ridiculous. I mean, come on. It's a dance. And this wasn't a rave. This wasn't just a bunch of crazy teenagers getting together with all kinds of fun drugs. This was an organized event. It was a Halloween party. It's ridiculous. Our government was never meant to have this kind of control. There's a Supreme Court decision that says that the government is not required, nor is it responsible to protect you. So in other words, if you're sitting in your house eating a burrito and somebody comes into your house and robs you and shoots you, of course you can't sue the police department because they couldn't prevent it. And that makes sense. But why is it that the government and the police want to come into our daily lives and dictate every single little thing we do and try and tell us it's in the name of our security and in the name of our safety? Come on. There's a lot of us that have lived full lives in this world, and we're still alive. I'm one of them, 42 years old. I did some of the most crazy, stupid stuff on earth when I was younger, and I made it, and most of my friends made it too, and we didn't need nobody to protect us. We did just fine. We need to get back to that. This isn't about protection. This is about control. This is about a mindset to get us to do everything that they want us to do, to just lay down. That's exactly what they're wanting. Come on. This permit stuff is getting ridiculous. And including permits you need to get to work on your own home. If you want to dig a hole in the backyard, you got to get a permit. Why? It makes sense to have different lines and stuff like that marked and all that. It makes sense that that's a law. That prevents a lot of inconvenience and possible injury and everything else. That makes sense. But as long as you got all that stuff figured out and you're not killing anybody's telephone service or blowing up the neighborhood by hitting a natural gas line, I can't see whose business it is if you want to dig a hole in your backyard. Really. Or if you want a garage under your house. Where I come from, it is against the city ordinances to have a privacy fence in your front yard. And if you put up a privacy fence in the backyard, you have to get a permit. And there's only certain types of fence yard, and once again, you have to get approval. This is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And I can't believe that it's about revenue generation so much, because they don't make a whole lot of money on most of those permits, not at least where I'm from. It's about control. It's about telling you how you have to live with every aspect of your life. And then we're supposed to celebrate every 4th of July that this is a free country. It is not a free country. No longer. So anyway, Let me get on with the news. Well, I keep complaining about that. Joel Osteen said Obama is a Christian and that he's doing a good job. Wow. I love the opening line here. Is this man on drugs or something? Charismatic megachurch teacher Joel Osteen brands the U.S. president as, quote unquote, a good Christian who is doing a good job in a difficult time. Yeah. These questions came to mind while watching Joel Osteen and his wife, Victoria, on CNN's Larry King Live last week. King pointed out that many Americans are still confused about Obama's religion and asked, does it matter? Well, it matters to me, said Osteen. It matters to me that I know he loves the Lord. And I think it's important that he has convictions from his faith. So to me, it matters when I'm making my own personal decisions. Ms. Osteen weighed in too, said, it does. It matters to me. I believe he is a Christian. Okay. Down in Texas right now, there's an ordeal going on to where there's a new mayor. And I don't remember if it's Austin, Dallas, Houston. But this mayor is demanding all the sermons from the clergy members there. I assume so she can approve them, I guess. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. That's a violation of the First Amendment and I believe the Fourth Amendment. Wow. If Obama was such a Christian, he would be stepping in and putting this mayor in her place. It's simple. If he was an American, he would be putting her in her place. But he's not either. He doesn't care about anybody that follows the Christian religion. The only thing he cares, it's obvious, the only thing that he cares about is those of the Islamic faith. And I'm not putting down the Islamic faith. I will respect every faith out there as long as it's not radical. As long as it's not telling you to do something bad. I will respect it. You're welcome in my heart, in my mind. You are. And you're welcome by my God. I'm sure you are. As long as it's not radical. As long as it's not telling you to hurt somebody. But see, Christians are getting persecuted by the Obama administration. We're losing more and more rights all the time. While the Islamic people, especially the radical Islamic people, are gaining rights left and right. Wow. You know, we have, without a doubt, the most treasonous president this country has ever had. It's a fact. Even most of the Democratic Party have turned their backs and said, whoa, 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 this is wrong. Nobody is stopping him. And that's because our Congress is bought and paid for. He's gotten rid of all the top military brass that would do anything with all the litmus tests and everything else. He's gotten rid of them all. It would really be nice to see the Marines step up and say enough is enough. I really wish they would. Anyway, I do got an article that I had the link down there too. I did run out of time. Maybe I'll run out of town too. I don't know. Preppers, looters, and marauders aside, what about your friends and your neighbors? It's a very good article. I would highly suggest you read it. And yeah, we've got to be concerned about all aspects, even those that we know and love. It's a fact. Because when things get crazy, those that refuse, those you tried to talk to all that time, or even those you just slightly mentioned something to, are going to come knocking on your door because they figured you were prepping, you were getting ready. So you need to be mentally, physically aware of what's going to happen and prepared to be able to deal with it. It's not a good situation to be in. So it's something we need to think about and get ready for now, because I don't think it's going to be too long before our skills, our possessions, everything that those of us in the prepping survival community have been building up for. So anyway, that's what I got for you tonight. May God bless you. May He walk with you. Be one with your spirit. I love you all, and I will see you tomorrow night. Oh, it'd be nice if I clicked the right one.